This video is going to show you how to complete the square and then use the square root method to solve it. So our first step is to get the equation to look like x squared plus something x equals a number. So if I go over here, I do have already x squared plus something x equals a number, which is 17. All right, so we already have it in that form. Our second step is to circle the b term. The b term is the number in front of x. So that would be 8. The number in front of x is 8, so that is our b. Now we're going to be using that b to fill in an equation in the form of step number 3. So as you can see in step number 3, that's the form that we're striving for. So I'm just going to rewrite that as x plus b divided by 2 quantity squared equals a number plus b divided by 2 squared. Now in this form, we're looking to fill in 3 things. We want to fill in this b divided by 2. We want to fill in this number and this b divided by 2 squared. All right, so we need to fill in those 3 things. The number is the easiest thing to fill in. That comes from step number 1. Do you see how there's a number symbol right there? Well, that number is the same place in our formula as 17. So I'm going to fill in the 17 where that number is. Then we're going to use that b term that we circled, the 8, to fill in b divided by 2. So we just need to do 8 divided by 2. And that is 4. So we're going to replace that spot with a 4. Over here, on the far side, we need b divided by 2 squared. So that means we're going to do 8 divided by 2, which is 4. And then we're going to do 4 squared, which equals 16. So we're going to replace that part with 16. So let's write it all together now. Different color. We have x plus 4 squared equals, we have 17 plus 16. We want to go ahead and combine 17 plus 16 is 33. So this is, these are the steps to completing the square. That was steps 1 through 3. So online, you might need to input your answer as x plus blank squared equals blank. You would fill in the 4 here and the 33 here. That's called completing the square. I did not solve anything yet. I just made it into a form that I can solve. From there, you're going to use the square root method to solve it. Okay? So the square root method involves first taking the square root of both sides. Let me rewrite this really quickly. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Now remember, the square root and the square, those cancel out. So we get x plus 4. And then on the other side, you have to put the plus or minus. And then we have the square root of 33. That doesn't have a whole number as an answer, so we're just going to leave it as the square root of 33. After we did that, we needed to solve for x, get x by itself. So if I want x by itself, I'm going to need to subtract 4 on both sides. So I'm going to get x equals, cross those out, we get negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 33. Our final step to the square root method is to split our answers apart. Now, when we split our answers apart, we're going to have one positive answer. So that would be x equals -4 plus square root 33. And then we would have a minus answer, which is x equals -4 minus square root 33. You would put those in Desmos to get the approximate answers. -4 plus the square root of 33 is approximately 1.744. And the other side, -4 minus square root 33, is approximately -9.744. So those would be our answers. If you're doing the online quiz, this would also be something that you need to enter as an answer. It would say x equals blank plus or minus the square root of blank. So that's where you would enter in -4 and 33. And then you would also need to enter in your decimal approximations. So that is one example about how to complete the square. We're going to do one more example. All right, this next example. Once again, we need to start with getting it in the form x squared plus blank x equals a number. So if I look over here, I have the x squared plus blank x, and I have the number 22. I need to do something with this plus 3. I need to move it to the other side. Because it's a number, it goes on the right. So I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides. You get x squared minus 18x equals 19. So now I have it in that form. The second step is to circle that b term. The b term in this case is -18. It's the number in front of x. It does include the negative that's before it. Now, step 3, I want to put it in the form for completing the square. And I'm going to rewrite that form underneath. That way we can fill in the numbers. X plus b divided by 2 squared equals a number plus b divided by 2 squared. All right. So if you guys remember, the easiest thing to fill in is this number part that we have. What goes in for the number? Well, the number is on the right side of the equation. So I just look above it, and that number is 19. So I'm going to fill in the 19 where the number is. Then we're going to need to look at b divided by 2. B divided by 2. So what you do is you take the -18 and you divide it by 2. And that gives me -9. We're going to use that same b term to come up with this expression at the end. We have b divided by 2 squared. So -18 divided by 2 is, like we said, -9. Then we need to do -9 squared, which is a positive 81. So we're going to rewrite that all together. Now, we have x plus a -9. X plus a -9, that can be changed into just x minus 9. Then on the other side, we have 19 plus 81, which is 100. So we have now just completed the square. Online, you would need need to fill in this 9 and this 100. That would give you the equation to solve. So this part, the step is completing the square. That covers steps 1 through 3. Step 4 is solving that using the square root method. So we have x minus 9 squared equals 100. You take the square root of both sides, you get x minus 9 equals plus or minus. There is a square root of 100 because 10 times 10 equals 100. So we have plus or minus 10. So this last step is to just break apart or split apart the equation. So you have x minus 9 equals a positive 10, and x minus 9 equals negative 10. One is the plus, one is the minus. Now, from here, you're going to solve them separately. Oh, I'm sorry, that's one way to do it. In class, we were doing it a slightly different way. It's not time to break it apart yet. My fault. We need to get the x by itself. So in this case, we would add 9 to both sides. We get x equals 9 plus or minus 10. This would be one of the answers that you would fill in on your online quiz. This is like the second part to the problem. The third part is splitting that apart. So you have the plus answer and the minus answer. X equals 9 plus 10, and x equals 9 minus 10. So your two answers are 19 and negative 1. So that's the second problem.